this is going to be great.
Welcome to the White House Pod with David A.R. White.
You know, we've been doing this podcast for a while, and first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for always tuning into it. And whether it's on all the different podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. But the biggest thing is at YouTube, right? At David A.R. White, the YouTube one. You guys comment, and I appreciate your comments. And I would love it if you comment. You guys have been asking for this guest. And like, where in the world is this guest, right? What happened? Because you guys used to make movies together. You guys started starring in movies together when you were, when we were children. KP. I call him KP. Not very many people do that on the planet, but his name is Kevin Peter Downs, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not Peter. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
but I've been calling you that. I know it's Paul, but I like the Peter. I was always like, it's got to be Kevin Peter Downs.
At least you get part of it right.
Is it Paul? It is Paul, right?
Good work.
It's Paul. Thank you. It's Paul? Is it Paul?
Yeah,
it is Paul.
It's everywhere on the internet. You just Google
Yeah,
it.
I know, but I've always called you Kevin Peter Downs because I think it's fun. KP Downs. That's right. How many other people call you KP?
You and Brad Heller. That's about it.
Well, that makes sense.
So either that makes you special or it just doesn't make you very original. I don't know.
No,
not
it's
really
original.
sure what it is.
It's
original,
me.
but maybe it's not very
KP,
good.
But it's funny that Brad started calling you that. I actually want to know. You know what? I'm going to find out.
Brad's a copycat.
Oh, nah. Well, maybe, but maybe Brad will say, "Oh no, I thought of it."
Oh, Brad will say he thought of it.
Or maybe we'll say we read it somewhere and we're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to bring this back." KP. All right, KP Downs.
What's up, Dave White?
This is how we've been referring to each other for 25 years. Where did I meet you? This is a big question. Where did I meet Kevin, Peter, or Paul Downs?
Oh, my goodness. Where did we meet? Well, we met at a Bible study.
First of all, let's just...
we met at a Bible study.
This man has produced more movies in the faith-based world than me?
No,
I don't think quite.
Nobody can get to your level.
Think,
Nobody can get to your level. What have you done? 1,450 movies?
No.
Of which 1,388 are God's Not Dead movies?
But what I will say to Kevin, KP Downs is, you've I think crushed the box office more than anybody in the faith-based.
I'm
community.
trying. You got to try.
I'm with Imagine, with Jesus Revolution, with War Room.
I did not do War Room. That's not mine. That's not confuse the people out there. That is the Kendrick
You started
brothers.
War Room, I thought.
I'm not in War Room. I'm in Courageous. Wrong movie. This is going really well.
I know it's a good start, isn't it? All right, so let's bring everybody back. When did Dave White meet KP Downs?
We met in the year 1992.
Yeah, when we were like 6 years old, for the record.
Yes, at a Bible study in Los Angeles.
Was it in Pasadena?
Nope, it was actually in.
What Bible study?
It was called West Valley Bible Study. We were out in Northridge somewhere.
What church was this? Grace
Community Church.
Grace Community Church.
Yeah.
That's where I met you at the Bible study. I
Yes.
kind of actually vaguely remember this.
Yes, you had fancy little jackets on. Like seriously, you were dressed like you were out of the early 70s. It was very strange.
Yeah, well, 70s.
And
cool.
you were taunting to be the big deal, David Big Deal White, BD Big Deal.
BD White. Wow, this is the first time I've ever heard this. I'm not sure that we want to. We can always scratch it if we don't like this later. I like it.
Big Deal White, and I always had an entourage. I remember that, but it was something about it. We hit it off really well.
Yeah.
You were
What
acting.
was that first conversation about? What do you
I was
think?
wanting to be an actor.
Were you brand new to? I think you were brand new to LA though, because this is what
I
year?
didn't even live here. I lived in
What year is
Visalia.
this?
I was commuting to
This
a
is
Bible.
94?
Yes. So this is how committed I was. I was living 3 hours away. I was commuting to a Bible study.
Visalia, for the record, we shot the moment after 1, 2, Mercy Streets, 6, The Mark Unleashed.
Yeah.
All of our early films were there. And then, of course, I would imagine you've shot other movies since.
We were introduced by
losing me as a partner.
Friends has said, you got to meet David because he wants to act.
Who? Do you remember who said this?
I have no idea.
Wow.
They were going to that Bible study though. That was a who's who of a Bible study. And so we met, and then we started hanging out, and then we hung out one summer and started playing Risk. I remember that.
Really? I thought it was Rook that we played.
It was Rook, not Risk.
What's Risk? I mean, I know the board game Risk, but I don't think we ever played Risk.
Yeah, Risk is a board game about world domination. You and I didn't do that.
Yeah, because it would have been fighting. Just
it was Rook. We played a summer of Rook with a couple of other actor friends.
Yeah.
And hung out at somebody's house.
Well, the funny thing, I remember the early years of KP Downs and Mr. White over here was we would go to that one actor's place in the back.
Yeah, Mike.
But Mike
St. Gerard.
Mike St. Gerard. It's been a while since I saw Mike St. Gerard, but we were there.
I ran into him not long ago.
You did too? I ran into him in New York probably about 3 or 4 years ago, though.
New York.
He lives in New York.
Yeah, no, I ran into him at one of our premieres in New York.
No way.
Well, this year, actually. It was at the Ordinary Angels premiere. I was like, oh, my goodness, it's Mike. And
How did he get there?
Somebody invited him.
That's good.
I know. It was really great to see him, though.
Because he's out of the acting industry. He's not. Mike St. Gerard isn't doing the.
Yeah, no,
but Mike was a big deal back then.
Big deal.
Elvis. He played Elvis in the TV, right? One of the biggest TV reenactments of it, I think. First and foremost, come see Kevin Downs, beautiful, shiny, good-looking face, who is always, he's your structural thing.
Please.
Back in the moment after if you look at the difference between my face and Kevin's, though, boom, shakalaka. I always had that thing. I had a. Okay, so wait. So we'll go. I'll sidestep to this. We'll come back to that. Mike St. Gerard was a big deal. Where did we meet Mike, though?
Oh, where did we meet? I actually don't know. You met him. You invited me. Hey, let's
go
to
the house.
Yeah, you invited me to the house. Somewhere you had met him. I don't know.
Maybe
where.
Jerry's or something.
You know where you met him is at like some actors fellowship thing.
Oh, MFI.
I think so. Yeah.
Media Fellowship.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so we started. Then Mike loved Rook as well.
Yes.
We all started playing Rook. I think Patrick was with us.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Do you remember anybody else there?
Mm-mm.
I think there was
it
was the four of us, which is Rook is best played with four or five.
Right.
But I remember from that summer though, him getting the Friends Like Us pilot Friends
script. Well, they asked him if he wanted to do it. It's called Friends Like Us, and he goes.
Friends was called Friends Like Us in the pilot.
Yeah, so I love this story.
This is a great story.
It's that I love Mike because when he tells it, it's just so humble, really humble. So they asked him to do it, and he's like, "Wait, what's this about?" And he goes, "I remember
people hanging out in a coffee shop."
Literally, he goes. They told me it was people hanging out in a coffee shop just talking, and he goes, "I think that's a terrible idea." And of course, back then we didn't know it was going to be a hit.
Well,
right?
This is the funny thing about this story here. I brought this story up, I think, with Tommy Blaze because Tommy was up for Matt LeBlanc's role way back on this podcast. But the funny thing to me is I've never actually had this conversation with you ever again since it happened.
Really?
No, we have never actually talked about this. And then with all the stuff with Matthew Perry passing and all the Friends things and all the reunion shows and all this stuff that's come up, I always remember this moment. That's the one thing that I remember about the summer was him throwing this script saying, "This script is horrible." And Kevin and I were like brand new actors.
We're like,
well, I had already done some work, but I was also
take any
like
pilot.
unemployed.
Are you kidding
yeah,
me?
we were like, "Are you sure you don't want to play Chandler?" I think it was Chandler, right? That's what they were leading.
It must.
Yeah, that's what they were leading to offer. Now, whether or not they offered it to him is the question, though.
Don't know. They just asked him if he wanted to do it. Well, I don't think he got very far because he thought it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Because look, back then when you were working and kind of hot and on a roll, you had to kind of pick your poison because you couldn't do them all. And so I think he was at a place in his career where it's like, look, during pilot season, I get a couple of shots and that's it. And you got to make the right choice because otherwise you could miss out.
Well, as Matthew Perry talks about it in his book, I've been listening to his book, and he talks about this Chandler thing, and he goes, all of Hollywood looked for Chandler forever, like 2,000 some people, and they could never find a thing. And he was on a show, so he was tied up with this other airplane show, and he read it early on and said, "This is me. This is so me.
The only one who didn't listen to that and just took everything was Jennifer Aniston because she was on a show with our buddy D. David
Right.
Morin.
Yeah.
And she took both shows.
Well, she was able to, I guess.
Somehow she was
But
able to,
his agents
but-
wouldn't let him read all the way, literally up
Yeah.
until the very end. And then when he was finally convinced his people and they were dropping his show, he got in.
Yeah.
And then immediately they were like, "You're the guy."
You're the guy.
And he was like, "Of course I'm the guy. I've been the guy for this whole year, you know," and I couldn't read. But it's interesting that Mike was literally they wanted him for that thing, and he was like, "I'm not going to do
I
it."
just thought it was a terrible concept. But look, back then, look, you have no time to think about things because scripts are being thrown at you left and right.
Yeah.
And
Meanwhile, Kevin and I are
just
thinking,
like,
going, "Well, why
can't we just get a job?"
Yeah, can we just get an audition at this point?
Seriously. Oh my goodness. So funny thing about it is, so they ended up shooting the pilot, and then I got a call because I was doing stand-in work as my job because I never waited tables. Not once
Yeah.
in my life did I ever wait tables, but I did a lot of stand-in work and some extra work. And so I got a call, and from episode 1 through pretty much the entire first season, I ended up being Matt LeBlanc's stand-in, but I got to be a part of
Of a
every
show.
episode. What's funny about it is I was going through some boxes in my house out in California that we sold, and I was cleaning some boxes out, and there was episode 1 of Friends, the script. I'm like, oh, how much money is that worth?
Yeah, you should probably say that one.
I should have had them all sign it because then it would have been really
Oh
worth a
my
lot.
gosh, that would have been cool.
But it was in perfect condition. Episode 1 of Friends, I have that script, and I'm like,
They asked you to be Gunther, didn't they?
They did. So, like episode 2 or 3, they because they like to get a little bit of bang for their buck with some of the stand-ins, and so they said, "Hey, do you want to be?" But he didn't have a name at that time.
Because Gunther was he was an extra part too, right? He didn't
well,
have
yeah,
lines.
no, this is how
at
it
the
went.
beginning.
So we had to, we had to. So what a stand-in is you're doing the blocking for the actors for the camera, so that the actors don't have to do it, basically. So
Yeah. So they can go back to their
so they can go
dressing room,
rest,
learn
and
their
learn their
lines
lines
or-
or whatever.
yeah.
And then during the
eat a muffin.
during the
Get a glass of water.
yeah, during the shoot
Actually,
days,
people bring that to him.
we would actually, we would literally in front of the audience, and we would be doing the lines and all this stuff. Today, if that were to happen, they actually have to pay you as an actor, which is kind of funny. Back then, they did not. so we didn't really make that much money doing that. But today, if they did what they did to us back then, we would have made quite a bit. So about episode 2 or 3, it was kind of like a requirement for us to be in the show.
And you're reading the lines as if.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But it was a requirement for us to be in the show as like an extra or whatever each time, and none of us wanted to because it was just more work. It was like, oh my goodness, I'd rather rest while they're actually taping. And so, but we had to do it. And so episode 2 or 3.
Who cares about Friends? I mean, it's like, it's
So
not gonna do
we
anything.
didn't know. But
It's not
literally,
gonna be anything.
The thing is,
Just
none
another show.
None of us knew until the show aired, which
was like a year later.
No, it was that year, but we were on episode 5 at least when the first episode aired, and it was a huge hit from that. I just remember like the next week, this is like episode 7. All of a sudden, the cast members, they were driving up in old Honda Accords and old cars, and out of nowhere, episode 7, there are all these $100,000 cars. I'm like, wow, that's what this is like. Okay, it was really interesting. All of them were very sweet. They were very, very sweethearts. And but at episode 2 or 3. The stage manager goes, "Hey, do you want to be the barista in the coffee house?" And I'm like, "What's
Also known as Gunther.
no, Gunther. The name didn't come later." And I'm like, "It was my question. How much of a time commitment is that?" Because I didn't want to be trapped. And they were like, "Well, you'll probably have to be in like every coffee shop scene."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I just didn't do
And
it.
episode 3, this is before it had hit too, right? This is before it had.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
right now it's just a show about people talking.
So what they
hanging out in
did,
coffee
and so
shops.
instead of me doing it or one of the other stand-ins doing it, they right from the get-go they went to Extras Casting and hired the gentleman that ended up playing Gunther because he ended up doing it the whole time. Because I remember him coming And I'm like, he's got a good look. I don't know why I was thinking that or whatever.
Did he have the hair his first episode?
Oh, yeah.
The blonde hair
but
thing?
They didn't give him lines until like the second or third season because he was just an extra for the whole time.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden his performance morphed into something. I thought that was always cool to see and witness and how the cast treated him and kind of where it started from. And all of a sudden he made it into something that's actually semi-iconic. You know, really one of the iconic smaller supporting roles of that show. Would have been Gunther, but yes, I was asked to do it, and I'm like, I do not want to do that because you don't know. I mean, you don't know at the end of the day.
That's hilarious.
But it was fun.
How long
fun
were
time.
you on the show?
Just the first season, because then at that point, we knew it was a hit, and my focus was auditioning and getting acting jobs, and I was like
Doing movies with Dave White?
And doing movies with Dave White, and I couldn't do them both, and so they asked me to make a choice, and I'm like, I don't want to be a stand-in the rest of my life, so it didn't work, but it was fun. It was fun doing it.
It was a cool launch of a show. All right, so from there, when do we do The Crossing in '94, right? That same year.
Pretty much the same year, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. Okay, so tell me about your memory of the casting of The Crossing.
Well, my memory is I remember the morning. Actually, I told you I was
because I'm on the phone yesterday. I got just sidebar. I'm on the phone yesterday, and John Schmidt. So I just did an action movie called A Line of Fire, of which we have a club scene, and there's dancers, and you come in, and there's a whole shootout with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Scott Baio, and a whole bunch of other people. The funny thing was, I was talking to the editor, John Schmidt, who was the director, and he referenced this show, our movie, The Crossing, that he directed. He goes, well, Bill Muir, I don't know if Bill Muir would approve of, because I was like, isn't this odd? The director of The Crossing and, and myself are talking about this club scene that we're doing with, shooting and everything. And literally, this is yesterday. So to go back this is 1994. This is in the early years of Kevin Downes and David White.
Yeah, so at that time, some of the things that
you have an audition.
No. Some of the things that we did to get more auditions. First of all, we would crash each other's auditions, which always resulted in jobs for you and not for me.
It was actually very nice for you to do that.
You're welcome.
Outbreak was totally his thing. That AT&T commercial that ran forever. That was a great one.
I feel like Amex one of us shared with each other. I'm not sure who did with who, but congratulations.
Well, all right. You know what? I guess all right. So this is when Kevin Downes doesn't return your calls any longer. No. I got to at least go back to these things and go, yeah.
So
he did
one of the ways that we would find auditions is through the trade magazines would actually post open auditions that you didn't have to have an agent to go through or whatever. And so I remember
Backstage West,
Drama Log, those things. So I remember reading about an audition for something at a Christian college in in Fullerton. And so I remember calling you going, I don't know what this is, but it's like at a Christian college. Maybe we should go. And then I forgot about it.
And see, I had done like 2 Christian movies at this point. I had done
here's what's
Second Glance at 92.
What's funny, though, is so I forget about it. And then the morning of the audition, which was on a Saturday, you call me. And you had remembered it. And I don't know why you remembered it, but you called me and you said, hey, are we going to this audition? And I'm like, what audition? He goes, the audition you said. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't planning on it. He goes, well.
Because it was in Orange County.
It was in Orange County. He goes, but no, this is why you called me, though. You go, I got to go to this celebrity bowl-a-thon. And why don't you come with me to that? And then we'll do the audition. And I'm like, oh, look, I'll go to the audition, but why am I not going to a celebrity bowl-a-thon? I haven't even booked anything yet. It's completely
I had been on
ridiculous.
Evening Shade at the time, so I was kind of getting some, some traction a little bit at the time.
So somehow,
1990,
the way Dave White always ropes his friends into doing things, I show up to this celebrity bowl-a-thon where nobody knows who I am because I haven't done anything. It's completely ridiculous. And then we go to the audition for the open cattle call for this Christian thing. And I remember getting there, and there were 200 high school-looking students. A
lot of people.
They all look like us. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And so we ended up reading.
We were waiting at a car, weren't we?
Oh, my God.
It was like forever.
Forever. And so we ended up reading a scene of something. I have no idea what it was. And then we left. And then like a week or two later, we both got a call back. And I think we're like, hey, I got a call back for that thing. So did I. And so we showed up, and the director didn't know that we knew each other, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But
which is John Schmidt, who's editing now Nothing's Impossible,
right.
Which is he's back. He edited part of the Revelation Road recently, and now he's on A Line of Fire.
Here's what's funny about it, though. We go to the callback, and I remember afterwards being confused because they called back maybe 4 people. And for the 2 leads of this thing. And the dialogue we read, they didn't give us the dialogue ahead of time, which was a little confusing. We get there, and the dialogue, it was a completely different show than what we had auditioned for. It was like, I remember asking him, like, wait, what happened to the other characters? He goes, oh, yeah, we're not doing that. So we're going to do this. Here's what's funny. What we didn't know is they didn't even have a script during the callbacks. John Schmidt made up the dialogue for us to read it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because the script hadn't been written yet. Because when we ended up getting cast, they were writing the script every day that we were on
I do remember
set.
that.
Yes, there's no script. So The Crossing, which was that little short film, 30-minute short film that Youth for Christ put out, ended up being a smashing success for what it was. 70-something languages, literally tens of millions of people have been documented to actually have seen it. I actually get stopped on the street for it. I don't know if you do, but I do. And I'm really astonished at how
when
how
people
many
remember though, it's pretty interesting that
it really is.
The moment I remember from that, we were in the hot sun for a long time when the flashback of Jesus on the cross.
That was hot.
Where were we?
We were out in the desert. Literally, it was 100 and I think
I like the fact
115 degrees.
The problem here is that we're complaining about that was hot, and we're talking about Jesus' crucifixion, like as if we went through something really really hard. As 2 actors, there was no water.
But I got to tell this. So this is so
for the record.
If you've seen the movie, great.
Christ,
if not, it's a 30-minute story
really good
about 2 high school friends. And one of them dies, and then comes.
The dead guy.
You're the dead guy.
Yeah.
Comes back and has a dream for the other friend, and leads him visually to the cross.
Yeah.
And so we have to do the crucifixion all over again. And again, we don't know what the script is while we're shooting this. That's the fascinating thing about this. And I remember.
I didn't know I was in the hospital though. I knew that I had to do a hospital death scene.
I didn't know what we were doing.
And Kevin had to feel bad about that.
Yeah.
Ish. Kevin felt he's dying.
He's
dying.
dying.
That's more screen time for me.
What's my motivation here? I don't really know. So anyway, but I remember
no more Rook.
115 degrees, and there was a little old lady that came up to you and was like so upset with you because it was like. Because I think you were taking up the one trailer that had air conditioning or something. I don't remember. But it made me laugh. That story always made me laugh. But I remember when we're getting ready to shoot. Here's the climactic moment of this whole movie. And it's the crucifixion of Jesus. Of course, I guess we could see Jesus. There was no dialogue in the scene. And so I remember asking John Schmidt, like, what do we say? And he goes,
we're at the foot of the cross.
Guys, come here. And the cameras are right there and all the crew. He goes, let's pray. John leads us in a prayer. Lord, just help these guys. Just like give them the words to say. Hope it really goes great. Amen. And he taps us both on the shoulder and goes, good luck.
Good luck, buddy.
Like, that was the beginning of Christian movie stardom for you and I, basically, was that moment. I know you had done a couple of things before.
No, but it was. You're right about that, because that ended up going, and that's obviously, please, if you guys aren't, watch the YouTube right now, and you'll see pieces from that show right now. And I appreciate Dylan's team always does such a great job of putting all this stuff in here. Things that you are hard to find. But at David A.R. White at YouTube, in case you're there. Please comment. Did you love this movie or not? That's what we want to know.
There you go.
All right, but it is interesting because then we ended up going to these places around the country to market it. And I remember the one place, it was like Youth for Christ's. There was thousands of kids there that we were on stage talking to.
They invited us. This is John Schmidt, the beauty of John Schmidt. So he calls the cast. There was like 4 or 5 of us, the main cast.
I'm glad Kevin's here to like when I'm like 85. I hope I can call you guys. Could you tell me that memory?
My long-term memory good. Short-term memory terrible.
Mine's like I forgot all this stuff.
So John Schmidt calls us and says, "Hey, we're gonna have a premiere." I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Where is it?" The Anaheim Convention Center. I was like, well, "That's a little weird."
That was the premiere.
It wasn't the premiere, but he just told us it was. And so what Youth for Christ made this movie for is back in 1994, they had 2 youth conventions for youth groups all across America. One was in D.C., which we were not invited to because the plane tickets were too expensive. But then one was in Anaheim, which was no plane tickets, so they invited us to that. But that was really what launched it for you and I, because we sat there in front of 8,000 kids, 8,000 high school kids, and watched this 30-minute movie play out. It's the first time we saw it. And I can literally remember distinctively hearing cries and sniffles and even some laughter. And at the end of it, just being wowed, like, wow, oh my goodness, how powerful and impactful that was.
Is that the one where we got up and spoke, though?
We did not get up and speak, but
where did we get up? We got up and spoke for this.
Hold on just a minute. What happened on that one was we might have got up and spoke.
We got up and spoke.
We did. Yeah, because they introduced us to crowd.
It was a circular stage, and there was.
So then they asked us, hey, will you guys stay afterwards? Because one of the musical guests was Jeff Moore in the Distance, which was a big
back in the
contemporary
day,
Christian music band back in the day. We'll set up a booth for you guys right up next to Jeff Moore. And we're like, okay, cool. I thought we were going to stay for half an hour. I think we stayed for like 4 hours because the line of kids was so long that wanted to just meet us. And then they were telling us their story and tears coming down their cheeks. And it was really interesting to me.
Well, that was that is interesting. It was the start of that, and then the next thing we did from that was
End of the Harvest.
End of the Harvest, which is interesting. That it's a lot of people's favorites.
Well, it was really doing End of the Harvest, and the director and writer of that, Rich Cristiano, producer.
Yeah,
he's
I call him the Godfather of
Christian movies.
Who really launched Kevin and I into producing.
He really did, because while we were shooting it, he's like, you guys should do this. And I remember looking at him, I'm like, dude, you're a one-man show.
Yeah, $50,000 budget.
Yeah, literally, what are you doing? But he kept on harping on us. You guys are smart enough. You could totally do this. And the movies that you would make are so needed. And then he said something that connected. The only thing that he said that connected, and you guys could cast yourselves. Oh. That connected. And so I remember on the plane ride home, because he flew us back out for the premiere of it.
Yeah.
And on the plane ride home, we talked about we should do a movie. And because we could cast ourselves.
I don't remember the part about cast ourselves. It is kind of funny, though. But see, what I remember is that you and I, when I was living at that house, right, in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you and I sat on the curb.
Archwood. We sat on the curb.
Archwood, you're right.
Archwood.
Right
here,
here, my
buddy.
street.
Right here.
Archwood.
And we sat, and I remember one night we looked up at the stars, like unemployed actors in their early 20s who believed in Jesus and wanted nothing more but to work. And we were talking about collectively the discussion of one day studios in town are going to want to make movies for Jesus, like movies that we want to make. And honestly, when we talked about it that night, I wasn't quite convinced that would ever happen.
Oh, I was. I totally was.
You were.
I totally was.
I was the skeptic. This is our relationship.
Yeah.
I was the skeptic. He was the positive one. And but I remember we talked about it.
It's interesting that we've never had this conversation, actually, guys. This is like the first time ever that Kevin and I have actually discussed this, although I discuss this in interviews.
Oh, I
often.
do all the time.
See, what I remember, though, and then I want to hear your thing, is sitting on there with the dreams that God put into our hearts to make content, also to be producers. I always had a dream to be a producer. It was as an actor as well. Obviously, first and foremost, it was an actor because that's why I moved out here at 19. But it was because of I wanted to tell stories and control the narrative more and tell the stories that I wanted to tell. And when we had done End of the Harvest and when we had done Crossing, and I had also done Second Glance, and I had done one more where I was a small role in Ed McDougall's movie when I was 18, is that there is a marketplace that was underserved, and the studios refused to even believe that a Christian film or a faith-based movie would have a place in America.
It really was. I mean, so we ended up from that plane ride home. We're like, yeah, let's do it. We didn't know what a budget was.
We're at like 27. We're about 27.
We're 27 years old.
Kevin's a little bit younger than me right now, guys. He is 20.
I still have
31.
I have not caught up to you, and I'm not sure why the math works out.
Is this your
that
birthday?
way.
Wait, your birthday was, my gosh, about a month ago.
Yeah.
Actually, no, 3 weeks ago. I think
birthday.
I owe you dinner. Did I call you on your birthday?
Sure.
I think I did, actually. Did I? I know it's September 21.
Usually, you know what,
it's September 21, right?
Yeah, it is. You're actually really good about it. I'll give you that.
I only know a few birthdays. I know Brad Heller's birthday is December 28. Yours is September 21. You didn't even know that. You should wish Brad a birthday. Happy birthday, Brad.
Happy birthday, buddy.
But
so anyway, we I don't know what were we talking about? The moment after we were making.
Oh yeah,
after.
but we're like 27-ish.
We're 27-ish. We didn't know what a budget was. We didn't know what a schedule was. But we had encouragement from Rich Cristiano
that I can distribute. I can help you.
Here's what happened. He goes, hey, if you guys can come up with a script, I think I can help you distribute. So
end of the world ideas, by the way, at this point were kind of
hot.
They were only Cloud 10 had one.
Right, correct. But then Rich had his little ones, and then it was like, okay, so anyway.
None of them were like the moment after, though. None of them were. They weren't. And Cloud 10's was a little bit ish. I feel like
a little bit ish, yeah.
Was that Revelation? Had Revelation come out?
Yeah, Revelation
with Jeff
come out.
Fahey, ironically.
Yeah.
Who's been in a lot of our movies.
And so we ended up writing this script, and we gave it to Rich Cristiano to read. Mm-hmm. He goes, guys, this is actually really good.
With Wes Llewellyn and Amanda Llewellyn.
With Wes Llewellyn and Amanda Llewellyn. Amanda co-wrote it. And
you co-wrote it.
And I co-wrote it.
Wes co-wrote it too, right?
Actually, a lot of it was me and Amanda. Then Wes probably behind the scenes and whatnot.
I remember
but he let Amanda and I would meet and pray every day because I didn't know how to write and still don't know how to write. And so it was one of the hardest things ever. But
we rewrite well. That's what we
rewrite well. But I remember when we delivered the script to Rich, and Rich goes, guys, this is actually really good. I think I can get you a pre-sale of like 5,000 VHS tapes for $12. And immediately my mind's going, wait a minute, that's $60,000. We're going to shoot this thing for 20. Are you kidding me? This is how this works? Okay. I think we're going to make a movie. And so we did a budget for like 20 grand. We went 300% over budget. So we shot it for like
67.
Yeah, something like that. But what I remember about that time was it was the passion and the heart of doing something that we believed God was behind us in that moment. It was what we wanted to do. And it was really exciting. It was very hard, but it was very exciting to be able to figure it out. In my mind at that time, I had no vision of making any more movies. Like, not at all.
Well, you did a lot.
Hard.
I mean, we were like making pancakes, and this was in Kevin's hometown, so I think you even got bit by a dog in your butt. Did you get bit?
Oh, no, I did get bit by...
Was that moment after one you got bit, right?
Yeah, moment after
And then you had to have a tetanus shot or something from the dog bit you in the back.
The dog bit me picking up some cones or pylons from ridiculous.
I remember that.
But the biggest memory of moment after one was I had the flu with 103 fever.
It was like your Michael Jordan game.
The first 3 days of filming, I felt so awful. It was just really a rough go of it.
I didn't know that.
Of course you did.
I don't remember that.
I was so sick.
You remember that you
guys
had
were
flu?
like wondering, is Kevin even going to show up? I could barely get out of bed. It was awful. Literally awful. Oh my goodness. Because when you're 27, you think you can conquer the world. And so we were driving the truck. Notice I said truck, not trucks.
Yeah.
Because we could afford one truck that had our gear in it from LA and doing kind of everything. Because when you don't have money, you end up doing a lot of it.
We raised the money.
Raised the money for it.
You and I raised the money.
You and I raised the money. And with the help of my brother, who knew some people in the ministry
Bobby
field.
was great.
And
Dan Wells and
it was the vision of it got us through that, and that was really the start. It's like so many people ask me today, like, what do I got to do to start? And honestly, you don't have to know it all. You just have to do it, even if you don't know it all, because we didn't know it all. We didn't know anything. We didn't know nothing. And but the fact that we jumped in and that we did it, that got the ball rolling, and it certainly took a long time. I remember a few years later. Well, what happened after that is immediately, because when we had gotten our money back, That's when you were like the pusher. You were the pusher at that time. I remember that.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on Dave White.
Well, thanks. That's why I've made more movies than you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, pusher. Always pushing. You go, what's next? We got to do something next. And so you grabbed your buddy John Gunn, and we're like, let's do a bigger movie.
Yeah. That was a good idea.
That I'm going to star in. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What about me? It's like, well, you could do the next one. I'm like, okay.
No, John and I had been working on a script forever. That's why we had a script that John had written. And it was like we had been working on that for like the
What's
2
funny
years
is you guys had
before.
a script, but you had no path to make it.
We did not, but we had a
None.
right. In retrospect, Mercy Streets was way ahead of its time, and probably
Way ahead
should have
of
been
its
a different. Probably should have been an End Times movie to
Probably,
be
honestly,
successful.
should've. But
That would have been a cool End Times movie.
But we stepped it up. And,
did step it up.
Made a little bit bigger film.
like 10 times
10
bigger.
times bigger film that still stands
Actually,
up
more than that.
today.
It's probably 12 or 13 times.
Yeah, it was.
I like you in that movie though, in Mersey Streets, because I think it's funny because I have this long black hair.
Apparently, John Gunn did not like me because he will not allow me to act in any of his films.
Even though you
since.
produced how many poor movies for John Gunn?
Too many.
How many times have you hired John Gunn now?
A lot.
What was the last movie that John Gunn directed in your?
Ordinary Angels.
Ordinary
which was
Angels.
out earlier this year.
Right.
Wouldn't let me
Interesting.
be in it.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's because you don't put me in any of your movies either.
We're not alone.
You know what? This is not about that anybody else than your thing, but what about people are always like, why are you not getting Kevin Downs movies? I'm like, I don't know.
Kevin Downs can't get in Kevin Downs movies. That's the problem.
You're gonna have to come back here because like we're like
almost out of time.
I know.
We haven't even started.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to come back to like.
So by the way,
this is just the inception.
It is the
This is the inception episode because you got to come back and talk about all the other massive hits that you did. Don't feel like you have to get it all in 6 minutes.
I won't get it all in
because
6
we're gonna have you back
minutes.
if you show back up. I mean, Kevin now lives in Nashville.
I know,
which
sorry.
is a little bit harder. He sold his house now officially in L.A.
Yeah, we're out.
You're moving
we're
away.
out. We love Nashville. Nashville's great.
Nashville's
The
great.
problem was I was traveling too much. My office is in Nashville, and I was
forth, back
traveling way too much, and so
Back
now
there.
Back there. So I want to be with my kids, and I want to see their sporting events. So
Yeah.
that was really the decision there.
Now you have a son who's sitting in the lobby right
He
now.
is. He's Nathaniel's here. He's 15. He's huge. Benicio
big.
is 16. He's even bigger. And little Joshua's 11, and he's about as tall as me. Crazy.
Josh was that tall?
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Oh, little Evie.
Tall.
My
Yeah,
daughter
yeah.
Everson's 11, but she's right now. But she's not quite as tall as me.
Aw,
She's
little Evie.
Little Evie. We still call her Little Evie. Do you call that? Do you, little
Of
Joshua?
course. Well, Joshie.
Joshie.
Come
I
here.
mean, they're always going to be the baby.
Always going to be the baby.
Even though they're
But if you, look, for Smash, we got like 2 minutes. It's been a big year for us at Kingdom Story Company. 4 movies theatrical this year, from Ordinary Angels to Unsung Hero, which ended up being really great. And
What's
then
the
we
box on that, by the way?
Unsung Hero got about 22 million.
That's great.
Which is great happy with for King and Country
Wonderful.
guys. Great story that they had. And then we helped market a movie called Whitebird.
That just came out.
Just came out. Beautiful film by Mark Forrester in the Wonder universe of the movie Wonder with Julia Roberts. And
How's it doing? Is it picking up track? Because it's like newly out.
yeah, it didn't quite
because it's such a
find
like
its audience, but
yeah,
the movie honestly
it's
is
an
one of the-
amazing movie though.
Amazing movie. One of the top 10 movies I think I've ever seen in my life. It's a really beautiful story. I took
More than The Moment After.
More than The Moment After. Not excluding the movies I've made.
Okay.
This is excluding
All right.
all those movies. But I took my family to it, and my whole family, we went opening weekend, and they hadn't seen it. Of course, I'd seen it a bunch, but they hadn't seen it, and they all cried, and we had great conversation about it, because people should go find it. It's probably not in theaters anymore, but go find it.
Well, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yeah.
It's not very hard. You just type in the
And then movie number 4 this year.
which is what we're going to talk about for 3 minutes because it's coming out.
It's coming out. The release date is November 8th. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. We did it. The director is Dallas Jenkins. He did a great
Now,
job
Dallas,
on it.
I've heard of his name.
Heard
but I'm
of
not quite
his
sure
name.
who this is.
Yes, Mr. Chosen.
Yeah.
Mr. Chosen.
Yeah, Dallas Jenkins, if you're out there, I don't know why you're not on our podcast yet. You keep dodging us.
Guess who else has never been in The Chosen? You or me. Brad Heller, though.
Yeah, Brad Heller's in The Chosen.
Love Brad Heller. Got it wrong. Brad Heller's representing us.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
He's representing the stars of the end of the harvest.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
always our joke, to go back to the stars of the end of the harvest.
But anyway, best Christmas pageant ever. It's on over
Through Lionsgate.
Through Lionsgate. Our deal with Lionsgate.
How many theaters is this?
Big. Oh, huge. Over 2,500 theaters. It's gonna make
be a
make
big
it to close to
juggernaut.
3,000
Wow.
theaters. It's really good. The marketing is really been fun about it is the marketing they're doing on it is things we've never seen before. So like you'll be able to go.
Christmas pageant
You'll be
ever.
here's what's fun. You'll be able to go into the theater. I've never seen this for a Christian film in theaters before, but when you buy some popcorn or a soda, it's going to have best Christmas pageant ever stuff on it. That's kind of fun. I'm like, look at that. Cool. That's kind of cool. Look at that. Cool. Yeah, it's super cool. So stuff like that. They're doing a lot of great marketing to get the word out. But most importantly, the movie's really great. Dallas did a great job. And the cast is great. It's for the whole family, all ages, 4 to 84, whatever. And enjoy it.
Love that.
So,
all right. So Kev, you got 2 minutes left here. What are you going to do to
I now have 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Yep. This is our relationship.
1:30.
All right, Dare to Dream podcast called Dare to Dream. What do you tell those people out there with dreams?
Well, that was a segue and a half, wasn't it? Dare to Dream.
Yeah.
What do you tell people? They need to take the leap.
What are they supposed to do with that thing that God put inside their heart?
Make the step. You got to actually do it. You don't go through the rest of your life wondering what if. Like, what if I had done
Not
this?
the other movie by Dallas Jenkins, which is on Pure Flix.
Did you like how I tied those two together? Yeah, you like that? Because that was your movie, right? Wasn't that your movie?
That was our movie.
Yeah, you tied them all together.
Of which also I was not in. No.
I know.
I didn't want to be in that one anyway. I can't be in all the Christmas movies. All right, so I actually got that's I know. Okay, so
but people should dare to dream. They should dare to dream. They should dare, like, if God put something. This is what I did early on, was prayed that this was literally what I was supposed to do while we were making the crossing. Like, God, just put it on my heart. If this, even though I don't know what this is, I had no idea what this was.
I knew exactly.
This is what I'm supposed to do. Put it in my heart so I have the energy and the motivation to do it. And I love it.
Yeah.
And people ask me, what would you do if you weren't doing this? I'm like, I would do nothing else. Like, that's never been a contemplation of mine since high school, when I thought I was going to be like an athletic director. But I've never had any other jobs other than acting and the stand-in work and stuff, and producing since we were 27. I've never had to do anything else because I literally believe God put it on my heart to be able to do this, and He's opened those doors. It wasn't easy. And so people have to expect that if you're going to dare to dream, it is not going to be easy if you make that step. And if you're okay with that, okay with it not being easy and being hard and going through all sorts of trials where it's physical or whatnot, then just do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin P. Downs stands for Kevin Paul.
I thought it stood for KP.
Well, it does. That's what. If you start calling him KP, he'll turn around when he walks by. The man.
Just slap him! Slap him!
What is your? Yeah, there's our throwback. All right. Well, Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And I also want to say Kingdom. What's your company called?
Kingdom Story Company.
Kingdom Story, which is
Look
now the biggest faith-based company, even more than. I think you've overshadowed us now. I am but a dim reflection of you.
We're doing our best.
You're doing.
We're doing
you guys
our best.
are doing so wonderful, and we'll get to that story the next time we have Kevin about why in the world did Kevin and Dave stop working together.
Have we?
I mean, you had to go off with Lionsgate and make a lot of movies, and poor little old Dave just hanging out here on a podcast and maybe doing another God's Not Dead movie.
Uh-oh. Whoa, news break.
Hey now. All right, guys.
By the way, way to go on that last one.
Hey, thanks so much.
It was very good.
God's Not Dead and God We Trust.
Yes.
All right, guys, if you haven't seen that movie, please go see that movie. It's also on everywhere. You can just, God's Not Dead and God We Trust. And also, please go to the theater, support Kevin, support Dallas Jenkins, and support the best Christmas pageant ever, out on November 8th, and we know you guys will love it. And thanks, Kevin, for the inspiring words. As always, I love hanging out with you. You're my brother.
You too.
And I love you, man. So,
love ya. Love ya.
And I love all you guys as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.